Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode. I'm so excited you are here. I'm going to start a series, the next couple of emails, that's going to be focused on goal setting because we are getting to the end of the year. If you're watching this when it comes out, we're at the end of November of 2024. And I know as we creep towards, the end of the year and the new year, you're going to get all the messaging about goals and goal setting. And most of it is trash. Most of it is bullshit. And I think that a lot of people have given up on setting goals, which is a mistake because they haven't been taught the right way to set goals. And I think that we just think about goals in the wrong way and it makes us feel like crap about ourselves. And, we've all experienced where we set a goal, we go hard for 2 weeks, life gets in the way, we give up, and then we beat ourselves up and we go on these shame spirals. And then we think like, I just can't set goals. I'm just not consistent. I'm blah, blah, blah. And then we don't set goals. And I don't want that to happen to you. And so I feel really adamant about this because I also used to hate goal setting. And I also used to think it was silly. And I hated New Year's resolutions. And I think for so many of us, we end up kind of then not really having any direction in our life, not really making any intentional decisions. Every year feels the same. Every year just seems to fly by. And I know that for a lot of us, we don't want that. Like we want growth and we want change and we want to achieve goals. And so I want you to think about it in a different way. And so I'm going to do a couple of things. I'm going to do a couple of podcast episodes on certain things I want you to reframe and I want you to think about differently. And I want you to approach goal setting in a different way. So I'll teach you those on the podcast. I'm also doing a full day workshop called Goals That Stick that will teach you literally everything you need to know about how to think about big goals so that you can have more of a vision in your life, how you can break that down into yearly goals, how you can break that even down to 90-day goals, how to schedule things so that you have the time to work on it, how to deal with all the procrastination and the self-sabotage and the inconsistency, all of that in one day. Spend one day with me and have the rest of your year set and really fundamentally change how you think about goal setting. So if you're interested in joining me in that workshop, you can go to quitterclub.com/goals. It'll be on December 8th. So I hope to see you there. But I wanted to start the series today on goal setting on what I think people get wrong about goal setting. All the things that you are thinking that are not true, that are incorrect, and that sabotage your goals and you even setting goals. And so I want us to start rethinking how we think about goals. So here's what I think people get wrong. And this isn't an exhaustive list. There's a lot of things we get wrong, and I don't want to make like a 4-hour podcast. So we're going to talk about like the top things that I see that trips people up in picking and setting the right goals, okay? The first thing is if you have like an aversion to the word goal setting or like you just want to like, it's not for me. I want you to really even think about like, even if you don't call it goals, you don't have to call it goals. It's simply you are making decisions about your life. You're always making decisions. You're always making decisions about what you're going to do or what you're not going to do. Both of those are decisions. I just want you to make them consciously, intentionally. I think for a lot of us, we make decisions unintentionally. We just don't do things. We don't work out or we don't go after the job or we don't start the business. That is still a decision in your life. That is going to set your life on a certain course. And so I think that the first thing that people get wrong is that they think like goals are a certain thing. They think it's like some big target or some push for major change, but it is simply just a decision to do something different in your life or to change course a little bit or to pivot a little bit or to figure out what's not working and add that into your life. It could be like you want more joy, more creativity, more rest, more spontaneity, more connection. All of those things can be turned into quote unquote goals. You don't have to think of goal setting in this way of like some random target that you have to hit. Like I need to lose 20 pounds or I need to make $100,000. Those aren't the only types of goals. And so I want you to really think about this in a different way. It's like, can I slow down to take some time for 2025 or any year you're listening to this and think intentionally about what maybe is not working in my life or what do I want more of or what do I want to change and focus on that, right? And make a decision intentionally about that. That is all goal setting is, right? So I think for people that are listening to this and maybe already have, dismissed this episode or thought about like, I'm not going to set goals. Okay, but what if we don't call them goals? What if we just think about like, if you want at the end of next year to get there and not think nothing has changed, it was just a repeat of every other year. If you want to find places where maybe you don't feel so great in your life and you want to change some things so that you can find more growth, think about it in that way. Think about how you would make decisions differently about goals if it wasn't some huge push that required a lot of work that is going to be, I don't know, really painful to get to and that you need in order to prove something to other people. Like if it was simply making an intentional decision about your life, how would you approach it then? Because that's all it is. The second thing that I really want you to hear me when I say this is that goal setting is not a means to get you to love yourself. I'm going to say that again. Goal setting or setting goals is not a way for you to get to love yourself. If that's what you're using it for, you are doing it wrong. And you may not realize you are using it for that, but that is what most people actually are using it for. Most of us have terrible thoughts about ourselves that we've been programmed with to think that we're not good enough in some way, right? We're not good enough the way that we are. And so we have to change something about ourselves in order to be deemed acceptable, in order to be deemed lovable, in order to accept ourselves. And so we set goals thinking once I get there, then I can feel good about myself. Once I lose the weight, once I make X amount of money, once I have this job, once I buy the house, whatever it might be, then I can feel like I am a, worthy member of society. We don't really finish that sentence, but I think we think once I get there, then I will be a different person that is then lovable. Most of us are using goal setting to change the person that we are because we think that what I am right now is not okay, is not acceptable, and I have to change in order to then feel okay with myself. That is a terrible reason to set goals. It is very painful. It is a lot of pressure, and it usually doesn't turn out well. I can't tell you how many people I know who have set goals like that and then get there and they're like, I'm the same person, right? Like I may be in a smaller body. I may have a little bit more in my bank account. I may have like one thing that I'm proud of. It's not to say that like I did get some growth, but if I'm waiting to get there to love myself, I'm going to get there and I'm still going to find reasons not to love myself. You don't need to change at all. You don't need to set goals. You don't need to add anything. You don't need to become a perfect human. You're never going to be. You don't need to like not snooze your alarm clock and have a 10-step morning routine and meditate every day and journal at night and have a gratitude practice and lose 10 pounds and make $100,000 in order to be able to love yourself. You can love yourself exactly as you are right now. You don't need anything else. And if you are picking goals because of that, you are likely setting yourself up for failure because you are likely picking goals that maybe you don't even want or that are maybe really painful, that are really tied into, like if you have an idea that like me at this weight can't be lovable and so I have to lose weight in order to love myself, that is a very painful thing to work through, right? It's a very painful thing. When I don't work out that day, it doesn't have anything to do with just that day and working out. My whole self-worth rides on it. And that is a very heavy thing to put on a goal of like, let's say working out. And so I want you to really catch yourself. Like, do I think I need to become a different person? Do I want this goal because I think if I hit this goal, then I can finally think I'm good enough? You need to work on thinking that you're good enough now. You need to work on loving yourself now, not setting another goal, not killing yourself and driving yourself to a point where you can finally be quote unquote acceptable. Okay. So make sure that that's not what you're doing. Make sure that's not the reason you're picking a goal, because the only reason that you should pick a goal is simply because you want growth. You want to grow in that area. You want to see what you're capable of. Maybe it'll benefit you. It's not to say like I can decide that I want a health goal because it's a way to love my body. It's a way to put my health so that I'm not suffering, so that I can live longer, so I can be there for my kids. Those are all great reasons. But I can love myself regardless of where I'm at. And so you want to just make sure you know the reason behind why you're picking the goal. A close counterpart to that, like a corollary to that, is that make sure that you want your goals. I think for so many people, we may not actually want the goal that we choose. We choose it because we think we should, because society has told us we should, or our family has, or our spouse has, or, whatever it might be. I should lose weight. I should make more money. I should have a better job. I should meditate in the morning. I should, whatever the should is. If that's what you're picking a goal, you're not going to stick to it. That's the problem, is that you will lose that motivation. Motivation wanes for everybody. And if there isn't a stronger reason behind why you're doing it, other than everybody in society has told you that this is something you should want, you likely will drop that goal and then feel terrible about yourself. But it was simply because you chose the wrong goal. You should pick a goal that you actually want, that excites you. A lot of us are using our goals to beat ourselves up instead of motivate us. Instead of being something that gets me to want to keep working on this, I'm using this as something, as like a yardstick of which to see how I'm failing, right? And so I want you to really make sure, like, is this a goal society told me I should have, or that I've heard from somewhere, or that I think I should want, but I don't actually want? I actually think a lot of people do that with health goals. Like, I should eat cleaner, I should eat organic, I should make food more at home. Make sure that's something you want. Why should I do that? Do I really want to do that? Why is it bad what I'm doing? Is this something that I'm willing to, like, really fully go all in on? Because if it's not, I'm just setting myself up for failure, okay? So I want to make sure that it's something that you think that you should do. The fourth thing that I want you all to realize is that you're going to be inconsistent. So I think the mistake people make is that they think they're going to pick a goal, and they might be excited about the goal, and they might, you kind of have that motivation going in. First 2 weeks, you're going to go hard. And then we're all surprised that, like, life got in the way and I lost some of the motivation, and maybe I got sick, and maybe the deadline at work became too hard, and I sort of fell off on what I was supposed to do. And I think for a lot of us, we take that to mean that, like, there's something wrong with me. I'm not disciplined enough. I'm not consistent enough. I don't have enough motivation. I don't have enough willpower. I knew I was going to do this. I always do this. And then we just spend the time beating ourselves up instead of just getting back to it. You will be inconsistent. Let's just not be surprised by that. Let's know going in that when I pick this thing, some weeks I'm going to feel a lot of motivation and some weeks I'm not, because I'm not a robot. It's not like an automatic thing. And so if I know that, then I don't have to be surprised by it. More dreams get killed, not because you are inconsistent, but because you think, because I was inconsistent, that means it's completely over. Now I can't get back to it. It's this all or nothing thinking that derails you once you have, taken a day off or a week off. As opposed to knowing that the whole point of it, or the whole name of the game, is not, can I be the most consistent? It's, can I be the person that keeps coming back even when I'm inconsistent? Can I see myself like, okay, this month was a really hard month. There was a lot going on. I had these deadlines. I caught that cold. My kid was sick. I didn't do it. Okay, can I come back next month? The more you can teach yourself that, like, it's not all or nothing, that even a little bit is fine, that coming back to it is fine, you will change your life. You will stick to so many more things, because a lot of these goals are not something that's going to be accomplished within a month. It's something that you need to consistently either do for the rest of your life, like if you're going to do a health goal or something, or you're going to do for a lot of years. And so if you could be okay with the fact that you're going to be inconsistent, if you can just know and expect it, like, of course I'm going to be inconsistent at certain times. That's not to say to let yourself off the hook. You really do want to work on the, like, keeping your word to yourself and doing things even when you don't feel like it, even when it doesn't feel great. But it is simply, like, not being surprised that you have a human brain, and that, of course, sometimes your motivation is going to wane. You're not going to feel like it. You're going to talk yourself out of it, whatever. And then you're going to get back on that horse. And then you're going to keep coming back over and over and over again. And the more you do that, the longer you will stick to something, right? Like, if I look back and I look back at my goals, I look back at, like, this podcast, there's definitely times where I wasn't consistent or didn't do it as full out. And yet when you pull back, it's like, okay, I did it for 5 years though. I've done it for 5 years because I keep coming back to it, because I keep making it a priority, because I'll find myself waning and only doing the bare minimum, and then I'll bring myself back. And that over time will create something bigger. And so whether it's a business, whether it's, like I said, a health goal, whether it's like you want to date more, I don't care what the goal is. Like, know that there's going to be kind of ups and downs. There's going to be times where you realize, like, I'm not going to do as much, and that's okay. That is human, and then we're going to come back to it. And I think an additional thing that goes along those same lines is don't be surprised that it's hard. I know this seems like obvious one. I think for a lot of us, of course, we think like, of course, the goal I picked is hard, but I don't think it's so obvious to us. I think a lot of people pick a goal and then expect themselves to be perfect at it and expect to do it without having a ton of discomfort. But like, if you could do it easily, you wouldn't need to set a goal for that thing. That thing would just be something that you naturally do, right? Like, I have a brother-in-law who is naturally very energetic and very athletic, has always been. And he is just a machine when it comes to like working out. The guy loves it, loves working out multiple times a day, like does different types of his like surfing in the morning and then running and then going to the gym, and he's just a ball of energy. I know nothing about that, but that's how he is. He doesn't have to set a goal about working out, right? Like, he doesn't have to keep himself accountable. It's like, it just comes naturally to him. It's not hard for him. His brain is just on board, okay? Me, on the other hand, I am not that person. I am someone who just likes to lay and never likes to work out. So like, for me, I have to come up with like, hey, this is what I want to stick to. This is what I want to hold myself to. I have to know it's going to be hard for me. My brain is going to try to fight it. It's going to have to deal with feelings of stress and frustration and boredom and just not wanting to and being unmotivated. That is a natural part of this goal for me because it is a hard goal. And so I think for a lot of us, like, we kind of have that motivation, so it seems easy in the beginning, a little bit easier. And then when the motivation wanes and we find that it's hard, we think there's something wrong with us, and we think like, oh, see, I knew like I couldn't do this, and we just give up. As opposed to just expecting it. Of course this is hard. Of course it's going to be hard because this is something that I am not good at yet. I have not created the self-concept around this. It's not something that naturally comes to me. It's something that I consciously have to work on. And so I want you to know that, of course, if you're picking a goal about something, it's not something that is your strength. It's going to be hard. Nothing has gone wrong here. Of course it's going to be hard. And in fact, I want you to like really figure out, what am I going to have to feel? When you're setting your goal, I want you to think about, what are the feelings I'm going to have to feel in order to go through with this goal? Like, do I have to feel stressed? Do I have to feel inadequate? Do I have to feel anxiety, sadness, frustration, boredom, physical pain? Like, what am I going to have to endure in order to keep doing this thing? So that when like my brain comes, like, oh, this is hard, you're going to be like, yeah, I know. We knew it was going to be hard. We knew. Nothing has gone wrong. It's not like, oh, this is going to be hard. Yeah, let's give up. No, we knew this is going to be hard. This is the hour where I do something hard. This is where I show myself that I can do hard things, right? So I want you to like not be surprised by that. Like, know going in that this is going to be something that's not going to be rainbows and butterflies. If it was, you would have done it by now. You would not need to set a goal for it. You don't need to set goals for like watching Netflix. You don't need to set goals for how long you can, like to scroll more on your phone. Because that stuff you don't have a lot of resistance to, because it gives you a lot of dopamine. So you're like, all right, I'm all in. You do have to have goals for things that are going to deprive you of stuff, for things that are going to require you to have a lot of negative emotion. So just be aware of it. That's all I want. I want you to just know that like it's going to happen, and that's okay. All right? So those are the 5 things that I want you to think about when you're going into like this goal setting season, whether you do the goal setting workshop with me or not. I want you to really think about, like, even if I don't call it goals, like I do want to spend some time thinking intentionally about what direction I want to go in. I cannot use goals to find ways to love myself. That is not the point of goals. Those are not the type of goals I should be picking. I want to make sure that I actually want the goals that I'm picking, that it's me that wants them and not that I just think I should do them. Like, what is actually exciting me towards change? What is exciting me to kind of work towards? What do I want more in my life? I'm going to know that I'm going to be in the consistent, and that is not a problem. I'm going to keep coming back to it as many times as I need to. And I'm going to know that it's going to be hard. And I'm going to be like, I'm going to anticipate the hardness and what parts are going to be hard and how it's going to be hard, so that I'm not surprised by it, so that I'm not derailed by it. And I think if you can even reframe just those and really approach goal setting from a place of like making an intentional decision about something that you want to change in your life for the better, not because you need to love yourself, and you kind of give yourself the grace of doing something hard and doing it inconsistently, you can make so many changes in your life and create so much more. And so that's what I want for you. If you want help and you want like a step-by-step action guide with like a 18-page PDF on like how to do long-term goals, how to dream bigger, how to do short-term goals, how to get out of all the self-sabotage, spend one day with me and learn how to do it. And then spend the rest of the year and the rest of your life knowing how to properly set goals. So you can go to quitterclub.com/goals and join me for that workshop. And if not, I will see you next week for another episode.